This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. You're going to return to Charlotte at the Coliseum on October 4th. And once again, you're working second from the top, Ric Flair and Dusty on top. But of course, it's the Rock and Rolls versus the Andersons. But the reason that this match or this show in particular stands out to me, they ran a couple angles too. Paul Jones is going to take the mic and open his briefcase to try to buy the services of Manny Fernandez. Fernandez bends down to look at the money, closes the briefcase, shake Jones's hands, and then hits Jimmy Valiant in the head with the briefcase. So all of a sudden, Manny Fernandez is a bad guy. You remember that angle, the reaction? I mean, once upon a time, him and Jimmy, for most of 86, what a beloved tag team.
Yeah, I remember it. And it was time to do something with Manny. Of course, we'll know that he's got a partner that was a pretty big star on the way, coming soon. And we know who that was, do we not? Do we want to divulge that yet?
Go ahead.
Well, it was Rick Rude.
Yeah. This is his debut show. And Rick Rude, in his second match, he's going to have, it's his first match here with the promotion. But Tim Horner versus the Grim Reaper would open the card that night in the Coliseum. But Rick Rude would beat Alan West in Rick Rude's Jim Crockett Promotions debut. Was this the first time you would have met Rude, or would you have crossed paths with him somewhere else before?
Georgia Championship Wrestling.
There you go.
Yeah, back when I was there and Matt Bourne got fired and Ole couldn't figure out what to do with us, so he turned me babyface, which was horrendous thing to do. Man Mountain Darso, who was Crusher Khrushchev later on, was a babyface. And I think we had the Indian fellow, what is his name? Joe Lightfoot, were baby faces, and we were wrestling the Road Warriors and Rick Rude on some loops back in the day, Georgia Championship Wrestling. So you can imagine when you run through those names, who took the beating. That'd be Lightfoot and myself. But yeah, that was my first time meeting Rick Rude, and all the Minnesota boys were tight and good friends and everything. So
Manny Fernandez being a heel, though, you were for it? Made sense to you? You were behind that move?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, it was one of those deals where the audience respected Manny's ability to fight, but he had been kind of up and down the card and drug along. And if you go back and check our history, he and I must have wrestled, everywhere from the first match to the last match, God knows how many times, how many hundreds of times. But I think the audience respected him for, his ability to fight. And when you turned him heel and put him with Paul Jones, it was just a fresh coat of paint for him.
Let's also mention this Rude debut. This is not quite ravishing Rick Rude that we would see in the WWF. I mean, this is rather humble beginnings, and very quickly he's going to have great tag success with Manny Fernandez. But eventually Vince McMahon takes a look, thinks he has an idea, and Rick Rude became one of the biggest and most iconic stars in the 1980s. And really, he did it in like 2.5 years. What an impression he made with Vince. What did you think of the presentation when you finally saw the ravishing Rick Rude character and all the hijinks with the mic work and the kissing the girls and the whole deal?
Custom made for Vince. Showbiz.
Yeah.
What is Vince like? Entertainment. What is he like? Showbiz. He likes a guy to be able to talk. That's one of his pet peeves. The body thing puts you right over the top. That'll usually get Vince's, attention right away. If he sees a guy that really has a look like Rick had, that's going to be the first thing to grab him. Then he's going to want to see, before worrying about if he can work or not, let's see if he can talk. So Rick Rude was custom made for the WWF at that time and what they were selling.
Talk to me about Rick Rude as an in-ring performer. Everybody loves the presentation and the character work and all that, but you were in there with him. You wrestled with this guy. You shared a ring with him. Chat me up. What did you think of Rick Rude bell to bell?
Well, he had his routine, and when you work with the guys, the ideal thing is always blend some of what you do with what they do, and let's figure out a nice little blend there that'll be for a nice little short story. Rude had his shtick, and it was pretty much one thing at a time and get the very most out of everything. He would take a reverse ass bump, which you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Jack a guy up in the air and bring him down, drop him on your knee. He would sell that for a minute. And, most guys couldn't have got a minute out of it, but he did. And if you just left him alone, and then he would do something immediately after, and get you down, and something would happen, and he would go to do the swivel hip, and he would start back selling his back from the reverse ass bump and things like that. He got the very most of every little thing he did. Now, Rude, from what we always heard, was pretty salty character, pretty tough. And I believe the guys that told me that because they had credibility. So, if anything went south out there, I'm sure, Rude could handle himself, but it was more of a methodical style. He had good fundamentals, but he just didn't do a lot. He's a classic example of a guy that has a persona that is over and people want to watch it, and he can slow down and do things and get every little inch out of everything. And he's the master at that.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.